Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure. This is season 2, episode 6. My God, I say this every time. I'm alongside my co-host Devontae. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. We flying through. We
flying through. We doing a good job of it. You got your mic going?
Got my mic going right here with me.
Okay. So we locked it in live, ready to go. Our guest today is a special one. We have former Division I athlete, pro basketball player, Jake Babic. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys having me here today.
Hey, thanks for giving us some time to talk to you.
All right, Jake. Familiar face. It's been a long time. Haven't seen you in a minute, so it's good to see your face again. But we like to start this show off with some quick hitters here. We're going to play this or that today. I'm going to give you some NBA players. You got about 7 seconds to answer them. We're just going to go on to the next one, all right?
All right.
All right, so we're going to do Kemba Walker, Colin Sexton.
Ooh.
Kemba.
You said that quick.
Kemba. Without a doubt, Kemba.
Okay, Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges.
Ooh, Miles. I like the Villanova boy, but Miles, his bounce is different.
Man, for sure, I agree with you on that. All right, since we're going Villanova, let's go Dante DiVincenzo, and let's match you up with, why am I forgetting his name on the spot? Why am I forgetting his name? Let's go with Jalen Brunson.
Ooh, Brunson's incredible. Honestly, they're both great, but I'll go Brunson.
Go Brunson. All right, last one here for you. I always like hearing this one since free agency's coming up. Porzingis or Drummond?
Honestly, I'm not a fan of either of the two, but if I had to go, I'd pick Porzingis.
Why is that?
Wow.
I think, like, number-wise, Drummond impacts the game, but I also think that inside five is kind of outdated in today's NBA. And then Porzingis does stretch the floor very well, but I also think that he'll never be the player that he thinks he could be. I don't know. I'm being a hater right now, but I just
Hey, that is a logical answer right there. That is a logical answer. I appreciate that. That's all I got. That was a logical answer.
A lot of honesty in that one. We definitely appreciate honesty. But we gotta know who are you listening to these days? What kind of music are you listening to these days?
Honestly, I'm a little all over the place. I kind of have my my hip hop R&B playlist that I usually listen to. I can listen to like country music. I can listen to like classic rock. I'm literally all over the place. Just from
all over.
school in North Carolina and Texas, it was like heavy country, and I'm a white guy from Oakville, so it's like country. And then, but obviously with basketball, I listen to like a lot of Drake, a lot of Jay-Z. I really like Lil Baby, Gunna. It's like whatever's popular, I kind of listen to.
That's what's up. You watching anything new these days?
WandaVision is incredible. Disney Plus. I don't know if you guys are Marvel guys, but
not so much for me. Not so much
for me either. I'll watch it here and there, but to go in detail, no.
Are you trying any new foods during the pandemic?
For the most part, I kind of been keeping it simple, especially being over here in Spain. We buy our own groceries, so I kind of just stick with what I'm familiar with. So it's a lot of like chicken and rice type stuff. Breakfast foods are normal, and then like just keeping it simple. Occasionally they'll get food for us, and it's a little different, but for the most part, just whatever I'm familiar with.
You're in Spain right now for basketball. I gotta know. What was the city like when it snowed?
Oh, it was awful. It was just, it was terrible. Like it's a beautiful city to begin with, but with COVID, obviously, there's not a lot of people out and everything's kind of restricted or closed. And then with the snow, they just don't know how to handle snow. And maybe I guess just being born and raised in Canada, we're so used to dealing with all that all the time. So I've been spoiled that way.
Fair
but
enough.
It's just like they don't have like salters coming out. They don't plow anything. Everything just stays until it disappears.
Yep. And you can also kind of relate to this a little bit too. Touch up on do you know anybody in Texas right now that's going through it? Because Texas is bad right now too.
It's terrible. A couple of my buddies had to relocate from their houses to like school dorms, and like water pipes have been bursting because they've been freezing, and people are going without heat and stuff. It is crazy. They just don't know how to deal with it.
Damn. If you had a dinner party and you were able to, and you were missing 5 seats. 5 seats were not available, but you had to fill those seats with 5 people. It could be anybody you wanted, anybody in the world, anything. It doesn't. It could be even be your parents for all we know. Who would you sit there?
Okay, so with that being said, it could be family. I'll bring both my brothers because they would like to sit in and just listen to whoever we have at this table. So that's two. And then I'm going to go world-renowned astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
As a third, I'm going to go LeBron as a fourth.
But hold on, but are you a LeBron fan?
I respect LeBron's greatness. LeBron is the best basketball player on the face of the earth, and I think he's debatably the best of all time. But I like to be a hater, so. But yeah, he's just sitting down from like a business perspective, a marketing perspective. Him through his upbringing, everything he's done for the community, like that's unmatched. So he would be the fourth, and then a fifth. Honestly, I'll probably say Roger Federer. I think that would be a really interesting person, just like away from the norm, you know, like world-class athlete, but in a completely different lane than anything I'm accustomed to, and seems like a good guy. So
that's what's up. That's what's up.
Jake coming different today, man. He comes some different logic down.
He's coming different.
We can't hear him from the norm. Okay, continue.
I like it. Hey, not on top of that, Devontae, he's 2 for 2 in honesty, man. He's 2 for 2 in honesty.
2 for 2 in honesty. 2 for 2, man.
We like that. That's why it's called Talk Your Exposure. We should change it to Talk Your Honesty moving forward. But I got to ask you though, Jake, who is your toughest check ever, and who is also someone that you would look at every single time and be like, I'm giving you buckets today?
Oh wow,
that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of like really good guys that I played through, like Ontario basketball, Canada basketball growing up. Jamal Murray was one of them when I played with him in the Basketball Without Borders one year. In college, I would honestly say my hardest cover was RJ Hunter. He played for Georgia State. He went first round to the Celtics, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was literally using our team as like an NBA like draft combine. We were pylons. He was just like weaving through us and shooting shots. It was pretty bad. But then on the other end, someone that can't guard me, I would say from my high school, this kid named Oliver McMahony. Yeah, went to Redeemer, played at Brock a little bit, but every day at my high school, we had a really competitive high school, Loyola Oakville. Mm-hmm. And so every day at lunch, before school, after school, we'd be playing basketball, and every day me and Oliver would play. So he would be the one for sure.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm not gonna waste any more time asking this question, but I gotta know. I know you're from Oakville, and this has nothing to really do with you. But York region versus Brampton / Mississauga. Who you got?
York region. At like currently or like all the best players in their primes.
No NBA guys. Just pro guys.
NBA guys.
No NBA guys. No NBA guys.
Oh, no NBA guys.
Just pro guys or you know, like really good hoopers when we were in high school.
I'll go York region.
So if you were a free agent, you're locking in right now saying that York region, you jump on York region.
That's not what you asked the man. That's not what you asked. That's not what you asked.
So if you could, would you team up with York region?
If Halton was not an available region, yes, that's where I would go 100%.
Yeah, we like this, man. I knew I liked you for a reason. A LeBron hater. He's talking about York region, man. I like this guy. I like him already. We just getting started.
What I'm here for.
Oh my God.
I gotta know. 2020 obviously was a crazy year. You know, it started off with Kobe's death, and it never stopped from there. What's your mental at right now?
Honestly, I'm at a good place. I've been really fortunate in my life to never be really one to deal with a lot of different like anxieties or depression, stuff like that. And being away from home for a lot of my life through prep school, through university, I'm kind of accustomed to being away from family. Mm-hmm. So basketball has really been a good release for me because like I really do love what I do. But for the most part, like I'm a very easygoing person. Like I'll get my workout in the morning, come home, play video games for a couple hours, then go to practice. So it's like I feel like I'm at an extension of like university to an extent. So overall, like I'm in a good place.
Fair enough. What's COVID like in Spain right now?
Honestly, I think the cases are up. However, like it's like normal life here. Mm-hmm. People like all the stores are open. Anything you could think you want to do, you can do. It's just everyone wears masks. So for example, like people are walking the streets. Like when we walk outside, we wear masks. Even like you're just walking by yourself, like a lady's walking her dog, she wears a mask. Oh, wow. And so like I understand there's probably not a lot of scientific basis behind that, but like I mean everyone's doing it, so I guess just to make other people feel better. So
fair enough. Mm-hmm.
No more COVID talk, man. Let's move on to Jake. Let's move on to your FIBA juniors in 2012. Did you get recruited and invited to play? Did you try out and make it? What was that experience like? How did that go down?
So that process, I remember the year before there was some Team Canada identification open tryout at I think it was like Rim Park in Waterloo. So I went, just did that. And then the next year, OBAs, I remember we were playing Ottawa Next Level. And Dave DeVero was the head coach for Ottawa Next Level, who was the Team Canada coach at the time. We played them 3 times. In every game, I had like 25 points and played really well. So then went to the open tryouts, got asked back. I got injured at like the top like 40, I think, that we were at together, and then didn't play the rest of that one. But then they invited me back to the 22-man one. And then I still think to this day that training camp with like the 22 or however many it was like some of the best basketball I ever played. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of like very good like high major Division I guards and guys who are much better than me athletically and skill wise too. But I don't know, like my confidence was on a different level. I felt like I was playing really good. And then I was really nervous. I didn't think I was going to make the team, but they told me I did. And I was pretty ecstatic about that.
That's dope.
For sure. And I know you guys didn't medal, but what was that experience like, man? What was that experience like?
It was really crazy. First, we were in France for just like an exhibition tournament. So we were playing those games, traveling a little bit. My role was basically I was the last guy off the bench, and like it's understandable, but I was probably playing 8 to 10 minutes every game, depending on how the game went. I'd come in at the start of the second quarter, play like my 4 or 5 minutes, and then in the fourth quarter, if it's like blowout or whatever, or if I'm playing well, they'd keep me in a little bit longer. But the World Championships in Lithuania was definitely one of the craziest things like I've ever got to be a part of. Just having all these high-level guys, like the USA team, we had like 8 to 10 NBA players. Simmons and Exum were playing for Australia. You had Argentina, who has guys now playing in the ACB, like Real Madrid, Gabriel Deck. Like, it's just crazy to think about. Like, you get to play and have this experience, but it was definitely something I was really thankful for, and that kind of provided like a springboard for me to show that I'm capable of playing at this high of a level.
So,
for sure, you keep moving up the line, man. It's a pivotal move every time. Now, with that being said, that year wasn't a walk in the park. Although you guys went 3-1 in pool play, that first crossover game, y'all have to run into the United States, where they have 5 of those guys went to do. It wasn't the result that you guys wanted, but what was the mindset going into that game, and what was the locker room like afterwards?
Going into the game, we thought that we would have a chance if we basically played perfect. That's the way it's been with the USA traditionally up until the last couple of years, especially when you see on paper that these guys are McDonald's All-Americans. They're like 1, 2, 3 on ESPN. But we just knew that if we stuck to our game plan, we'd have a chance. And essentially we had to play a perfect game. So, of course, that wasn't really the situation. There's not much you can do when their 9th or 10th man is like a second-team All-American. You know what I mean? It's just at the end of the day, there's better basketball players. So you got to tip your caps to them. But after the game, like you really start to notice that through the progression of the game, a lot of it is just basketball. Like you kind of build these guys up in your head, and you build like these teams up in your head that like, oh, these guys are like superior, they're USA, they're blah, blah, blah. But then when you start playing, you kind of realize that they're just normal people like you. And so once you kind of break that mindset, that's when you start finding the most success. But for us, I guess, as 17-year-olds at the time, we couldn't really do that. So took our L, learned from it, and moved on.
Now, Jake, you're 3 for 3 in honesty. So I need you to answer. I need you to go 4 and 4 because I feel a certain way about this next question. And I feel like if he finds a team that cherishes him and if he keeps injury free, then he's going to have a great career or a solid career to end his NBA career. How good was Jabari Parker?
Jabari was one of the smoothest, most skilled basketball players I've ever seen in person. And he was coming off a foot injury when we played them. And he was like, no lie, he was actually like a young Carmelo Anthony is the exact way that I saw him play basketball. Now, I think his size as a 3-4, it's like he's an undersized 4, and he's not like a traditional 3. And he's got like a good skill set, but he's really had a lot of injuries throughout his career and been played in different roles in his different teams. So if he does find the right situation, he could really be like a good 6 man for a team, provide a lot of like intangibles and help a lot. But that's the biggest thing for anyone, I'd say, in any professional leagues, finding a coach that trusts in you, a system that trusts in you, that can use your talents to the best of your ability.
Most definitely. We're going to touch up on this briefly, but I want to know, how do you get to Kiski?
So when I was at Loyola, I finished. Basically, I was going to go CIS, and then there were a couple prep schools I was looking into because I still wanted to play Division I. That was like my dream since I was little. And so I could have gone to St. Thomas More, but it was like basically like a military school. There were like no cell phones after like 9 o'clock. We take it from you. Like it was like a dungeon. I was like, hey, no thanks. And then this other one was like not a very good basketball program. It was called Suffield Academy. It was like a good school, but it was lower level basketball.
Right.
So then we were just emailing, my father and I were just emailing a bunch of places, and Kiski reached out. And so we went on a visit and we liked it and just went and it worked. And we knew obviously the Canadians there before. So it's like, okay, let's give it a try.
A lot of Canadians were there, actually. I was supposed to go there as well, but funny story for me. You know how you just talked about cell phones with St. Thomas More, about how you can't have cell phone after 9 o'clock. So my dumb ass actually decided to sit in one of the math classes and text the entire time. So the teacher wasn't feeling me, the principal wasn't feeling me for that reason, so they didn't accept me. So well, we already know that Coach Darren Freeman was a tough motherfucker. You know, he was definitely a tough guy. You know, he's one of those tough coaches. Good guy, very good guy, but tough. What was it like? What was it like if you sat in your class on the phone?
First of all, the teachers wouldn't be having it. That would be like the ultimate thing. And then somehow it would get back to like the headmaster or the dean. You'd have to go to some sort of detention where you'd have to go like after hours, wearing coat and tie, sitting there doing homework. And then if Friedman or one of our assistants found out that we got in trouble, we'd have to run, which
it's funny you mentioned that, because when I went there for my visit, Stefan Yankovic was there, and he didn't go to practice or something like that one time. And Coach Darren made him run probably like, I think it was like 4 8s, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in like 40 seconds or something like that. Is that something similar you've had to do as well?
Not with Friedman, thankfully. I never had to do that specifically with Friedman. I mean, I've done that, like a drill like that before. It's not fun. Anything like that is not fun.
Running's not fun at all.
No.
What were some of the difficulties of going to an all-boys school, and how do you transition?
The most obvious one is obviously going to an all-boys school. I mean, I went to like a Catholic school in Oakville. So obviously, like, there's girls, my friends, people I'm like used to being with. And then all of a sudden you get put in this boarding school where you got to live. So I had one bunkmate. He was South Korean and American, so spoke a little bit of English. But our whole like dormitory was just all like postgrads and all boys and guys, you know, like your teenage guys, you're 17, 18 years old. Guys there's a lot of angst going on, a lot of hormones going on. Like, I want to be top dog, blah, blah, blah. And so that was a little bit of an adjustment, and just like the competitive nature of everything. Like, we had ping pong tables, we had pool tables. So everything that we did was always highly competitive. But from a school aspect, I would say, and I think Devontae could probably speak on this too, I think the American education system is easier than the Canadian education system. I mean, even through university. So like, I was taking classes at Kiski that I learned in like the 10th and 11th grade, like in Oakville. Yeah. But in like, those were like senior level classes. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. So that was fine. And then basketball was fine. Like, adjustment wise, it wasn't anything too difficult. It was a little bit like learning new systems, obviously, all that stuff, and trying to find my role and seeing what he wanted from me and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, everything worked out. And I think overall it was a really good decision that I went there.
That's what's up. Darren is a well-connected coach. Who are some coaches in some school that came to watch your games and practice?
Yeah, so he was with Calipari at UMass.
Damn.
So he was a manager there and then got a job somewhere else, which is like an actual coaching job somewhere else, which is how he got his foot in the door. But so on my team, we had a kid, Satchel Pierce. He 7-footer from Akron. He ended up going to Virginia Tech with Buzz Williams. So he committed to Marquette when Buzz was there. Then Buzz moved to Tech. So Satch went to Tech, but Satch was our biggest recruit because he's a footer. And so we had Jamie Dixon from Pitt coming in, Buzz Williams was coming in. We had the Miami coach, Larinaga, I think his name was, coming in ACC. So he was getting a bunch of ACC looks. And then during these open gyms, like I was playing pretty good. So a bunch of like Ivy League schools would come in, Patriot League schools, MAC schools. But I'd say like for Satch especially, like was a lot of like the high majors, but not like the blue bloods.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Decision day comes around. You know, if you're in your final last little bit at Kiski. I don't know how to pronounce the school, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna try my best. But you go to App. You know what? Can you say it for me, please?
Yeah, this is a big thing with people who go to the school. It's pronounced Appalachian.
Appalachian. Okay.
Appalachian.
People say Appalachian, which like the mountain range is called the Appalachian Mountains, but the school itself is called Appalachian. And if you say it like there, they get really offended if you don't say it properly.
Fair enough. So Appalachian.
Appalachian, yeah.
Okay, now I know. Why do you choose Appalachian?
So the way this worked out, I finished at Kiski. I left a little bit early because Friedman ended up leaving. And so for the last like month or so of school, I already had my degree, so I didn't need to get a Kiski diploma. Mm-hmm. And then there was no open gyms because Friedman was gone. So like, there's no point really being here right now. I can just go home. Right. And so that like springtime, I was playing OBAs. I was coming home playing OBAs. And so I remember we were doing OBAs. I think it was U19 at the time. I was playing with Northern Kings. Okay. And we just won. We won the OBAs. It was like me, Connor Gilmore.
Shout out Northern Kings. Shout out Vidal.
Okay, shout out Vidal. Great guy. And so we won that. And then I got a voicemail on my phone. And it was my coach from App State. His name is Jim Fox. Yeah. So he goes, "Hey, Jake, my name is Jim Fox. I'm the new head coach at Appalachian State. I just took the job like a week ago. Came over from Davidson, was there for 13 years under Bob McKillop. Coach Steph did all this, blah, 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 blah. I got your name through this guy who was a director of the Basketball Without Borders camp that I went to. And I heard that you're still available. We'd love to get you on a visit and see if you're interested." I was like, yeah. So at this time, I had one other offer from Dartmouth earlier in the year, but they pulled it because another kid committed. And then from then on, I was just getting interest from a bunch of places, but no concrete offers. So then when App came, Fox basically called and said, "Come down, we'll get you an offer." And because at that point, it's like, it is what it is, but they were a new coaching staff, basically like 2 weeks from the semester starting, and they needed guys too. So they were kind of just looking around, and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to play Division I basketball, so let's take it.
Fair enough. Moving forward, I'm gonna refer to that school as App State. That's what I'm gonna do.
App State's perfect.
I'm gonna refer to it as App State. It's like an essay when you use a word the first time, you can put it in short form. That's what I'm gonna do. What was your NCAA I made it moment?
Ooh. It's got to be our first official win. Funny enough, yeah. So we lost our first 2 games. Mm-hmm. We lost our opener at Ohio by 26, got our asses kicked. Then we lost to Furman by like 15. Damn. And then we're going to Virginia Tech. So where Satchel actually committed with Buzz Williams in his first year there. And they were 3-0, like new program with Buzz there and having all this hype. So we go to Virginia Tech and we won by 2. My buddy Frank hit a buzzer beater. Mm-hmm. And I had 6 points that game, played like 20-something minutes. And as a freshman, that was like really a big deal for me. And so as that being my first ever college victory, that was like I'm here. Like, this is like something that I'm actually doing. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I can only imagine. I never got to play Division I NCAA, but obviously I hear from Devontae, I hear from you, I hear from Cassidy as well. So I got to play JUCO. That's the most of my extent. I'll take that. You seem like you're a fun guy to be around. You seem like you can also be very serious at times as well. What was the locker room like? Was it very jokey? Was it not so serious? Was it very serious? Did you get a lot of arguments with them? We want to know all the itty gritty about your locker room.
Yeah, with App, it was different. We had different personalities. So our leaders, our first year, were a couple guys who, our one senior captain actually ended up getting kicked off the team halfway through. And so that was the extent of our leadership my freshman year. The young guys, like, we like to like joke around and play around all the time. So that was kind of our mentality. And I think that was a little bit to our detriment at sometimes, because there were definitely times where it would be like, okay, we lost the game. And then guys would like, they'd be on their phones or they'd be laughing on the bus after the game. And it's just stuff that you kind of build this like culture that losing is okay. And so we had to like go through that and then try to break that mold. And it wasn't until probably my third year where we started figuring it out a little bit. But by then we kind of just had that set in place. So I think we definitely had like a really good program in terms of like camaraderie and brotherhood and like team culture. Like we all really did love each other. I still keep in touch with all those guys every day. But from a basketball perspective, it didn't help us.
Fair enough. Well, first of all, it's unfortunate you have to go through that because leadership is so key in basketball, and the older we get, the more we start to understand how important leadership really is, right? So, I want to touch up on that real quick. If you can go back in time, what would you do differently to be a better leader?
The first thing I would do differently is through high school, I guess I would tell young Jake to take the weight room seriously. And that's like priority number one. That's something I should have been doing the longest time ago. And also I figured this out going into my junior year was holding myself accountable. And that was the biggest thing. I really did have like a victim mentality. Like it was like a woe is me. Like I had my buddy Shabazz came in my sophomore year. So I had a little success at the end of my freshman year. So I thought I was like, okay, I'm going to start sophomore year. I'm going to like be this big guy. Like I was scoring double digits my last like 5 or 6 games of freshman year, playing 30 minutes. So I was like, okay, like this is gonna be my time. And then Shabazz, who went to Huntington Prep, played with like Miles Bridges, Thomas Bryant, comes in, takes my spot, and deservedly, like he's an amazing basketball player. But I was a sulker. I was on the bench, like, man, like the team isn't doing good without me. Like why is coach doing all this? Blah blah blah. And so because of that mentality, I wasted a year of college basketball, essentially. And then it really took me staying the next summer to look myself in the mirror and be like, wow, like, why am I trying to put blame on all these other people and all the coaches and all this stuff when I'm not the one who's getting enough rest? I'm not the one who's doing my homework. I'm not the one who's taking the weight room seriously. I'm not the one who's doing the skill work. So that would be the biggest thing, is having that sense of accountability.
Fair enough. In your freshman year, you did start 9 games, like you just touched up on a little bit ago. I got to ask you though, were you expecting that going in there, or was it one of those the coach kind of just came to you and said, Jake, you're starting today?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting it going into the year. I kind of figured I was going to like feel it out, play my role. And then as the season progressed, we started losing some guards. And then one game we played at Louisiana Lafayette, and I had a good game. I think I had like 16 and like 13 in the first half. I think that was my freshman high, was 16. And then after that game, he started me the next game over our junior guard. And then the rest of the season, I started playing a lot better. And I think it's not that I expected it, but after that one game, I really started having like a different mentality my freshman year in terms of like attacking and being aggressive on offense. Because there were a lot of times, like being a young guy, you kind of defer. You know, you got guys who have been established, older guys, where it's like, okay, they're doing their thing. But in order for the team to be successful, you need everyone to do their part. So me attacking and me being aggressive, like that's helping the team out. And so finally figuring that out, like, is when I thought, okay, now I belong as a starter.
Most definitely. I mean, that's the biggest thing too as freshmen. We had Alex Johnson on here the other day, and he was talking about the same thing about how, you know, the first year he got in there, wasn't really starting right away, then he became a starter, and he's like, I feel like I deserve to be a starter. I should have been a starter from earlier, but you know, I feel like for on my angle and the perspective is more so like when you are a starter. It's also like one of those things too, where I feel like people get comfortable as well. I'm not talking about in your situation, just generally people get comfortable. But then when they get that taken away from them, it's like, like, why am I not starting anymore? You know what I'm saying? Did I have an issue with my coach? Did I have an issue, stuff like that? So I got to ask you a two-parter for this one. First question is, what was your relationship like with your coach? And on top of that, what was also the hardest part about being at App State?
I actually had a really good relationship with my coach. I still have a relationship with him to this day, even though we had a little bit of a falling out, but like we still keep in touch to this day. I mean, he's the one that gave me the opportunity to play Division I basketball. So like for that, I'm eternally grateful. From a basketball perspective, he demanded a lot. Like I said, he came from Davidson, so they were very system and detail oriented, where if you weren't doing it the right way, you're either getting chewed out on film or you're getting cussed out and put on the bench. And so I had to learn really quickly that I had to do things his way. And so that took a little bit of an adjustment, but off the court, he was like a really approachable guy. And really personable. Like I could go into his office anytime I want to go talk to him. So that was really nice. But that kind of him and all the coaches, even the assistant coaches, like we had really good relationships with all of them. So that was really fortunate. But I'd have to say the hardest part about being at App State would definitely just be the culture around the basketball program. We were a big football school. You know, like our football team, they beat Michigan back in the mid 2000s. That was like their claim to fame. We won 3 national championships in football. They moved to Division I. They win the Sun Belt. They start beating all these teams. Like they're doing really good. So we'd get like 40,000 people at our football games, and we're getting like 800 to 1,000 at our basketball games.
Oh, wow.
And so like everything that we would do based around the school, like it would be like football team oriented. So we kind of felt like we were like the younger brothers getting disrespected all the time and this and that. But looking back, obviously with perspective, you understand why things are certain ways, and you just wish you had that understanding when you're in the moment.
Fair enough.
Now, Jake, you know, in 2017, you know, you transferred to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Shout out to Kareem South.
Shout out Kareem South, my man.
Shout out to the mans. Now I don't know, Steve, you've ever seen that school before. From what I've seen, beautiful campus. But you know, what was the decision to move in there?
So at the end of my junior year at App State, I was going through, and like I said before, I'm not someone that deals with like depression or anxiety or stuff like that, which I'm really fortunate about. But at the end of my app career, my junior year, I was just having a lot of like self put on pressures on myself, just things that I was like compounding, just different things, whether it was like school or my girlfriend at the time or family, things like that. So I felt like I was in like a really big hole that I couldn't get out of. And so I went into my coach's office one day. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I actually ended up leaving the App State basketball team, which is how I finished my career there. I told him, I was like, listen, like in fairness to you, you've done a lot for me. I don't feel like I can give you another year. Like I don't have the motivation to do this. I don't know if I want to keep playing basketball. I don't know if this is something for me or not. And so I ended up taking that year off, finishing my school, of course, and then coming back home. And when I was back home, it was really good for me because I had some clarity in terms of being away from the game, being with my family, just taking that a new approach into all this. And so when I was back home, I was training, I was working a little bit, still playing basketball, but not obviously at the same level as I was in college. And then one day I literally just, I just woke up one day. I was like, man, I still got a lot to give to basketball. Like, it's kind of unfair that I went out on these terms. And so I want to like get a second shot at this. And so I hit up Kareem because Kareem's a Northern Kings guy. He went to Kiski also. And so I was like, yo, Reem, like, can you just tell your coaches about me? I can send them a bunch of emails, just like let them know that I'm sending them emails, stuff like this. He's like, I got you. And so they reached back out to me and saw that I played 90 games at App. I started maybe 15 in my career. I'm coming from a school that's quote unquote from a better conference where I have good experience against like these high major teams and stuff like that. And so they gave me an opportunity. And then from that point on, it was like basketball became like, from what was like once this dark cloud really turned into like this sunshine. So cliche, but like it really helped me fall in love with basketball again.
Wow. No, that's tough, man. That's a crazy road. You know, there must be an angel over you or something, because I know a lot of guys want to get that opportunity. But hey, it is what it is. Now, transitioning over to Texas, and what was the locker room like compared to the other school?
This program in Corpus Christi, it was a lot more basketball oriented, and it was really relationship based. So my coach, Willis Wilson, great guy. He's been around for 20, 30 years coaching in Texas. We would basically have meetings like 4 or 5 times a week. It would be like player and staff meetings just based on relationship building. So it'd be like talking about our families, talking about our personal lives, going like in detail about stuff outside of basketball, because he was really big into building these lasting relationships in the hopes that obviously that would translate on the basketball court. So our locker room was actually like really close, because we'd be sitting in these meetings for 2-3 hours. Like you're learning stuff like some of my team, like teammates would have like parents who are homeless or brothers or sisters who have been put in prison, stuff like this that I've never experienced, things like this that I can only empathize with, you know what I mean? And so it's like you get to learn these intimate details about these people, and that really helps build that connection. So from that perspective, it really helped build our camaraderie on the basketball court. And then that probably led to the most fun I've had playing basketball in my college career.
For sure. You know, with that being said, you know, you get to start 17 out of the 31 games your senior year. Did you feel more trust from your coach?
Absolutely, especially coming in as a grad transfer. Like, I'm a fifth-year guy. I'm older. I got that most of the experience now, especially compared to a lot of our younger guys. And having him give the faith in me that, hey, we want you to be aggressive, we want you to put up shots, that was incredible, and definitely what was needed for me.
And so, what was your best game against? What was your best game with Corpus Christi?
There were a couple of decent ones. I'd probably have to say, I think Nichols was my high for points. I think I had 18 against Nichols at home. That was a good game. Another game, senior night was good. We beat Houston Baptist. That was a good game for me. I had like 10, 8, and 4, something like that. I was never like the biggest scorer, but, you know, just playing my role, doing what I got to do to help the team. But I'd say the last stretch of games we had, like we beat Incarnate Word, then we beat McNeese, then we beat I forget who else we beat. But those like 4 games, I was putting up like 15 points a game and shooting like 50% from 3 in my last 4 college games. So I'd say that little stretch was probably the best I've had.
Now, you guys had a stud on your roster. I forget I used to watch you guys a lot, obviously, because of Kareem. You guys had a stub. He probably played center or power forward. Dark-skinned guy, Afro. Who is that? What's his name again? He was in the G League.
Oh, Rashawn Thomas.
Absolute Steven. This guy's a stud. This guy, at least in my opinion, a stud. Because I used to watch him a lot, running through the league. Obviously, double-digit scorer. I know he had a stint in the G League. I'm not sure where he's at now, but absolute stud. I love his game. But dude, did you get along with him? Like, how was being a teammate of his?
Yeah, he was a good dude. Like a really good, personable guy. So he ended up playing with Oklahoma City's G League team for a little bit, and he was probably like, even to this day, still like one of the best undersized forwards that like I've ever seen play basketball. And so he's actually playing for Partizan Belgrade right now in Serbia and making really good money and having a really good career. He was actually playing he played in Italy last year and won I think it was the Euro Cup, something like that.
Oh, wow.
For his team in Italy. He was playing with Deshaun Pierre over in Italy last year. But him, and I played with his little brother also. His little brother was my roommate, so that was really cool to have that connection.
For sure. I thought I'd just mention him because that guy was an absolute stud. But you touched on it earlier, Jake. Senior night. Walk us through that night and explain your emotions.
Yeah, so senior night was always something I really looked forward to. And, like, even since I came to App State, I was like, I really want, like, the senior night. Like, your family's there. You get the applause from the crowd. It's like all your hard work has come to an end. And then at App, the way my career ended there, I didn't get a senior night. So I was, like, really stubborn about that. And that was one of the reasons also I wanted to come back to finish basketball on my terms in college, was to get that moment, because that's not just for me. Like, that's for my mom and dad, for all the years of sacrifice they put in. That's for my brothers, everything that they've done. And so that was the first game my brothers and my brother's fiance got to come out and watch me play in my college career. So that was really special to have them there. My parents flew down, so that was good. And it was a must-win game, too, to get us, like, to clinch us in the Southland tournament, and we ended up winning. So having that experience and going out like that, it was really nice.
So
a bunch of highs, a bunch of lows. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no. A bunch of highs, a bunch of lows, bad tribulations, good tribulations. Your university career is over. Are you satisfied with everything?
That's a great question. I honestly, no, but I've kind of come to the acceptance that it is what it is. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily say I regret, but never getting to play in March Madness, not even getting close to March Madness is something that, like, when I was a kid, that was my biggest dream, just be in March Madness. And I know you went to a school where you guys had some success in the postseason and got close, but like for us, like the farthest we made it was our conference quarterfinals, So it was like, that would probably be my biggest thing. It was just that little regret in that sense.
This is a question for both you guys, because again, like I said, I've never played Division I NCAA basketball, but this is a question for both you guys. If you guys first of all, how hard is it to make the tournament?
I mean, unless you're like a top 3 team in your league, you basically don't have a chance unless you just get hot at the right time. But especially for mid-major conferences, if it's a one-bid league, you're battling uphill if you're not one of the top 2 or 3 teams. So it's extremely difficult, and people don't realize, like, there's 350 plus Division I teams, only 64 make it, and for 25 conferences out of the 32 conferences, they're only getting 1 team. And so you're just fighting uphill the whole time.
Jake, currently you're in Spain. You're playing pro basketball. So I gotta ask you straight up, how's your team doing right now? Because you're an honest guy. You'll always tell us how they're really doing. So how you guys doing right now?
We're actually doing pretty good right now. And so my situation in Spain, I started with the team in Albacete was the city, and our team was not very good. We were 0-5. My coach had me playing like a 3-4, like small ball 4 for some reason. He had me rim running, just doing like the most non-basketball stuff for me of all time. So it was not a good experience. And then after those 5 games, Christmas came. I got COVID. Terrible experience. We can talk about that also. Just not a fun time. But they essentially were like, okay, our team's going to be so bad, like, we're just going to let you go, try and find another team. And so this team, and I'm in the same league, but a different division, who was in second place. They just lost a guy, so they needed a guy, and it was perfect timing where I came in. And right now, the team I'm on, we're 8-4 overall. Since I've been here, we're 3-2, but we just lost last night to the number 1 team, and we lost earlier to like a 4th or 5th place team. But like, my role has just been completely different with this team. Like, they got me straight to a lot of sets are run for me. I'm coming off ball screens all the time, coming off pin downs. Like, they're using me how like a real basketball team should use me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the biggest thing with this level of Spain, it's not the highest level. So like, you got to do things that aren't really like in the norm for you. So for example, like with my old team, why they had me playing the 4, just because like I'm taller than most people and more athletic than a lot of the local guys here. So it's just finding that right connection. But my team right now, we're good. We're in second place. Playoffs from each division. So like, we're basically already out of the playoffs. Like, it doesn't matter.
Oh shit. I do want to touch up on something that you mentioned about coaches in general playing people to not their full potential. And you being tall, Devontae being tall, I hear this too many times of tall guys who are like 6'5", and apparently now they're a 4'5". Out of nowhere, they're a 4'5". I don't know why in the blue mind is somebody is 6'4", 6'5" is a 4'5". But touch up on that a little bit about how stupid it is, and the real position that the real position that a 6'4", 6'5" guy should be playing.
Yeah, they should be on the wing or be a ball handler, without a doubt. Especially when you're young, if you're that tall, I understand if you're like a 5th or 6th grader, you got the tallest kid, you throw him under the basket. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be teaching that kid basics in footwork, basics in ball handling, passing, using ball screens, just everything that all basketball players should be learning. Agreed. I think that the way that Steph especially has revolutionized the NBA, a lot of young kids nowadays, they want to shoot the basketball, and kids are seeing that you need to be able to dribble. And so I think it's starting to differ now with younger kids, but like, we don't need 6'4" power forwards. Like, that's, no one in basketball needs that. It's not good for you. And especially like for a lot of kids out there, if your high school coach is like, hey, you got to go play the 4s, be like, well, what can I do to switch this up? Like, for your sake, at the next level, especially whatever level you want to play at, you're not going to be playing like the big man.
I agree. You had a big game last night where you had a double. You had 17 points, 10 rebounds. Is that your pro career high? And have you ever gotten a double prior?
That is not my pro career high. My pro career high was 24, but that was my first career double. That's the first double I've had maybe since in high school. If I got a double, so in the last at least 7 to 8 years of basketball, my first double. Yeah.
Damn. I want to know the business aspect of basketball right now. How much of the game of basketball is more so business compared to an actual game?
It's definitely a lot of like politics, a lot of finding the right fit, a lot of looking for good money. It really depends on the person and what they're looking for. So, for example, I'm very fortunate coming from I come from a place of privilege, and I'm very well aware of that, where my parents are able to provide a lot for me, and I don't have to worry about I don't have a lot of financial burdens other than things that I spend for myself, which I'm very fortunate of. And so at this point in my career, I understand why some people would be chasing a bag instead of finding the right fit for them basketball wise. So when this opportunity in this lower Spanish league came to me, it was like really good for me from a basketball perspective, because I can get good numbers, I can get good film, and then I can move my way up. Whereas I understand obviously some guys have different circumstances where they need to provide or do other things. So the business aspect, it really just depends on your situation. But like I said, for me, I'm pretty fortunate.
Two-parter to this one. What was your first your first pro I made it moment, and what was your first eye-opening moment as a pro?
So my first I made it moment would probably be 2019, like October, November. I was playing. This was my first like professional basketball game. I say this. So I played a game with the KW Titans in the NBL, and we played the Raptors 905. It was an exhibition game. And so the 905, their starters was like Tyler Ennis, O'Shea, Juwan Evans, Devin Robinson, like 5 like great basketball players. The Raptors 905, of course. And so I played 29 minutes that game. I had like 7 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, something like that. And so that was like, wow, like obviously I know I'm not at a lot of the same levels as these guys, but the fact that I can stay on the court and hold my own and not look like an idiot when I'm doing this, you know what I mean? Like you just see that when you're at that stage, it is just basketball. But in terms of having an eye-opening moment, I wouldn't necessarily say there's been a lot. Maybe our first game here in Spain, we played a team with a bunch of vets. And the one thing I would say here in Spain, if you're not Spanish and they can tell you're not Spanish or Spanish speaking, the refs, they just hate you, like automatically. Like you can't look at them dirty. You can't say anything. The refs are low-key racist to all black people, and especially foreigners, black Americans that come over.
Wow.
They just don't be like, you get no calls, you get the shit kicked out of you, but it's just what it is. That's just how Spanish basketball operates.
Bullshit. That sounds like a lot of bullshit.
I'm not surprised.
Sounds like a lot of bullshit, man. Yeah. Between the coach you have right now, your coach at App State and your coach at Corpus Christian, well, Texas A&M Corpus Christian, who was your best one? For you. Not saying the best one for the players you have around you, but your best coach for you.
Specifically college, I'd probably say, that's the thing. Like, they both just use me so differently. The best coach that I've ever had is my high school coach, Gary Lauren, without a doubt. I think he's the best coach I've ever had. But like right now, the way my coach is using me, his name's Joaquin, my coach on my team here in Spain. That is the best basketball coach that has used me to the best of my ability. So in college, it's so weird because like the biggest thing I found about in college was it's not a player-oriented game. It's a coach-oriented game. Like the coaches want you to buy into the culture. And if you don't do it, they're going to find someone to do it their way. And so that's why, unless you're like the guy where you can like dick around with the ball and take bad shots and you have the green light where you won't get subbed out, which I wasn't, then you have those issues.
Well, definitely.
With that being said, what's the biggest lesson that you learned while playing in Spain?
So far, the biggest thing that I've learned is every day you really just need to have that attack mentality and basically just like a screw it mentality. Like no matter what happens, basically just say like F it, like it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, like we're all here for a reason. We're all here to either like provide for yourselves. A lot of guys have families, kids, but like if you don't go out and just give it your all, then you're selling yourself short and you're just not putting yourself in a good position. So I'd say that's the biggest thing I've learned.
And that's a great way to put it. Now, to conclude the show here today, Jake, we always like to end with a game called In a Perfect World. So I'm going to put you through a scenario here, and then you're going to just fill in those certain spots, kind of like fill in the blank, all right? So
Gotcha.
let's put you back to Kiski. You know, you're doing what you have to do on the court, double-digit score. You know, your coach, as you said, you know, bringing in everybody in the gym. You got every offer in the world, right? A season ends. He's going to VT still, but you still got all the schools you've ever wanted. You can't say Crispy, you can't say App State. Which school would you go to and why?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'd probably say like wow, I've actually never even thought about this. I never had.
We got him thinking. We got him thinking.
In a perfect world. In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, I'm going to Duke and I'm playing for Coach K.
Why?
Because the connections that I will have post basketball and the relationships I will make will surpass the obvious of getting the best coaching from the best guys in the world and becoming friends with NBA All-Stars every single year for the 4 years I'm there.
He's 5 for 5. He's 5 for 5 today. These logical answers are beyond what I was expecting here today.
Hey, Devontae. He's perfect in a perfect world.
Anyways, you get recruited. You're the shooting guard for Coach K, right? Do what you have to do in college. You're a one and done, double-digit scorer. You're a first rounder. You are to the point in a perfect world where you kind of get to dictate where you want to go on the draft board. You go into all these different teams. You see the organizations. You're picking your ins and outs. You know, blossom the teams you don't want to go to. Now you get the luxury of kind of putting yourself where you are on the draft board. What team are you selecting in the NBA?
I guess this is super cliche of me, but I'd have to say Toronto. And the reason I say that is because from a player development perspective, I think they are the cream of the crop in terms of the G League, in terms of the NBA, how they develop their guys, the resources they give them. In terms of coaching style, I like how Nick Nurse coaches. I really do think he's a player's coach. There's a lot of NBA teams I wouldn't want to play for. Like I probably wouldn't want to play for Thibodeau. I probably wouldn't want to play for the old Bulls coach that was making the guys do push-ups and suicides all the time. Like as a grown man, but yeah. And then, sorry, go ahead.
No. That again, you see, you changed my perspective because we're not getting that. You know, we're not the cream of the crop when it comes to player development. Yes, you're absolutely right. When it comes to that spectrum, you're absolutely right. Now, Jake, again, in a perfect world, you're at the end of your rookie contract. Do what you have to do in the league. You're a solidified guy in the league now, all the way to the point where you're in free agency and people want to join your team or go wherever you're going. Now, you get one rookie in this year's class and one vet, whoever you want that's I shouldn't say a vet, a solidified star in the league, to come to a different team or to come on with the Raptors with you. Who's that rookie? Who's that star?
Okay, well, I'm definitely bringing Kawhi Leonard back to Toronto because I think that guy's just different. He's actually he's an animal. The way he's built mentally is just the craziest thing I've ever witnessed in my life. So it would be him.
I have found my twin.
I think you have. I
mean, there's a lot of other guys that I think would be like good to play with. Like Giannis would be incredible to play with as a shooter. I'll just stand there and not have to do a lot of work. But Kawhi would be my vet. And then young guy is without a doubt LaMelo Ball.
Definitely see that, especially if your game, I could definitely see why. You don't really have to say much for that one. That makes complete sense. But okay,
And then we're winning the Raptors the 2023 championship with Kawhi back and LaMelo at the 1 and me at the 2.
he's putting it in there. 2023. He's putting it in there. 2023. Now, one more question. Who are you watching in the league right now? Whether it's young guys or solidified guys in the league, who do you like watching?
So going off LaMelo, this is kind of strange, but I was a really big Lonzo fan at UCLA. Like I just loved the way that they played. In terms of like their unselfishness, how they pass the ball, how they push it up. So I love watching both of them play. I watch a lot of guys I watch a lot of Duncan Robinson. I watch a lot of Tyler Hero. I watch a lot of Matt Thomas clips. How JJ plays. I mean, it's cliche, but a lot of the white shooters, like just how they play in terms of like learning basketball and like things I can take and add to my own game. But like from an entertainment value, it's KD, I think, is like the most insane human to ever touch a basketball. Steph is incredible. And then LeBron, unfortunately, but he's still so good to watch. Like he's still, I can't hate on his greatness that much. It bothers me that I still like to watch him play basketball. But
Steven, did you hear that? Steven, did you hear that?
I have found my twin. I'll repeat. a LeBron hater, a Duke lover, and a Raptor lover. Man, Jake, you're my best friend. We're best friends now.
Hey, this is what I'm here for.
We always like to conclude the show with one last question for you, though. We always like to conclude with this one last question. Who is somebody that you'd like to see on Talk Your Exposure? But here's the kicker, though. You got to help us get him on the show.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Someone I'd like to see on, my boy, Kimball McKenzie, one of my best friends.
Okay.
He's playing. Yeah, he's Devontae's age. They probably played against or with each other at a bunch of points. Bucknell, 2-time NCAA tournament. Playing in Leb Gold, second best division in Spain. Great guy.
Hey, that would be dope if you could help us get us connected with him, and definitely take it from there. Definitely would enjoy that. So remember, like I said, you got to get us connected with him, though.
I got you, of course. For you guys, anything.
Appreciate that, man.
Hey, my new best friend, man. My new best friend. Hey, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram, jbabic25. That's about it. You don't need to check out my Twitter. I just be posting random memes. You don't need to check that out. But Instagram, go ahead, throw a follow. I'll probably follow you back. Fair
enough. Hey, man, honestly, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was really, really appreciated. Very informative as well. You had a lot of great answers. Obviously today you were 6 for 6. And I think if we had a competition between all the guests that we had, I think you'd be the perfect one so far, because everyone had perfect answers. Especially me, because I'm biased. So, a lot of things you were saying, I was nodding my head saying very happy about too. I know Devontae wouldn't agree with everything, but I was agreeing with everything. But all jokes aside, though, definitely thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. We wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Stay safe, stay healthy, and luckily you're in Spain, so stay warm. And keep being you, man.
No, thank you both. I appreciate this a lot.
Appreciate you, man.